gentlemen, welcome to the meeting for the Delta Conveyance Authority, Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority. And this is our regular board meeting, and this is Thursday, June 20th, 2024. Today we have Director Estamira joining us remotely from Valley Water. We have Director Cheng joining us remotely from Long Beach, and Director Anapdawi joining us from Mojave. Okay, so other than that, at this point, I've called us to order.
All the way up.
Excuse me, you may not mess with my little speech here, whoever's doing that. So nonetheless, could we please have a roll call, Claudia?
Hear me? There we go. All right, good afternoon, board members, starting with President Palmer.
Here.
All right, Director Millibar.
Present.
Director Martin.
Here.
Thank you. Director Luna.
Present. Hello, Director Estamira. We can hear you clearly.
Abigail.
And Director Estamira, we heard you.
Present.
Thank you.
Here and accounted for.
Director Chang. Director Chang.
I'm sorry, was that Director Chang?
Yep,
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
thank you. And Director Anapdawi.
Present.
Thank you. And I did see that we have alternate director Lomarow online. I didn't see any of the other alternate directors, so want to acknowledge him for the record.
They may be here for the regular board meeting, since right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into closed session. So we will come back to you as soon as that's done, which will be approximately 2 p.m.
President Palmer, just confirming for the record, we didn't receive any requests for public comment on closed session. Yeah, technically, even though we normally don't receive it, technically folks do have an opportunity to speak on closed session before we go into it.
Well, I better not talk about anything supposed to be in closed session, or they'll hear from me.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. And probably from you too, so. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we had much to discuss in closed session, so forgive us for being back a little bit later. Other than that, I'm calling us out of closed session and opening the regular meeting. And before we start Pledge of Allegiance, Claudia, could you acknowledge who of our alternate board members may be on?
Gladly, President Palmer, I do see that alternate director Weed and alternate director Fleury have joined. I do not see, and alternate director Fast.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, folks, for being here. And we still have the same folks who are here remotely. Okay, then please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, then let's get into approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. Let's look at the, can we do this, Josh? Just remind me again, can we do this both at the same time?
Yes, we can, President.
Okay, so we're looking at May 16th regular meeting and then May 16th special meeting. Do I have a motion to, yes, ma'am.
President Palmer, I'm not sure that you reported out of closed session.
Oh, I didn't report on closed session. Okay, I have nothing to report out of closed session. Okay, then, that's why she's making the big bucks. Yes, at any rate, so here we go. Now we will get into the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those 2 sets of minutes? I'm gonna hit your little button. There you go.
Motion to approve.
Okay, and,
Miguel Luna.
okay, so Millibar and Luna for approval of the minutes. Do we have any public comment on those? Any additions? Nothing? Okay, and then Do we have any other comments for the board? None? Okay, then let's bring that to a vote.
Gladly. President Palmer,
Yes.
Director Millibar,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Luna.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good.
Director Stamera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
and Director Anaptawi.
Yes.
All right, confirming both meeting minutes have been approved.
Okay, great. Now we are getting into the discussion items. So the discussion items that are coming up are some of our regulars. So let's go ahead and start with the discussion items.
Great, thank you, President Palmer. We're going to start with our monthly report. I'll let Claudia pull that up. So we start out, this year, we've been using this 2024 milestones timeline as a helpful graphic. So the black diamond sort of in the middle of the chart there shows where we are today. The big sort of effort and big push to release the updated cost estimate and economic analysis performed by DWR was released last month. So now we're into a process of carrying on, getting ready to wrap up the fiscal year, getting ready for next fiscal year. So it's been a really good and productive first half of the calendar year so far. So Claudia, if we could move now to section 1, please. Great. So in terms of work performed, it's been a lot of that on the controls and administrative side, just dealing with and preparing for the end of year transition, closing out the books on the current fiscal year. And at the same time, performing all the planning and strategy work associated with next fiscal year. We've had a number of other activities within the program management tasks that have been a focus for us. We've been working on and developing our sustainability strategy, and that's something I look forward to sharing with the board. Probably in a couple of months. We're still working on it, but this is helping to translate the board's policy direction around sustainability into how we're going to start to develop that into a programmatic sustainability plan and then ripple that down through the individual projects. So a lot of progress made so far, but we'll tee that up, I think, for a future agenda item and look forward to sharing more with that, more on that with you. Also performing a number of quality and health and safety audits within the program, just making sure that everything that we're doing is in accordance with our own plans and procedures and tracking that for the purposes of continuous improvement, just making sure that we are learning from and expanding on our goals associated with these activities. In terms of our administrative and administration tasks, one thing I'd like to point out, we have started our summer internship program. There was a meeting with several earlier in the day, which was great. And so look forward to getting to know the interns and having that program for the summer. And also at the end of the summer, we'll also provide a more detailed update to the board on progress and successes there, I'm sure, of which there will be many. Another priority for us over the past month or so has been communicating the cost estimate work that I mentioned on the timeline and the economic work. That's going to continue to be a priority for this month and beyond, just getting around to all of the various interested agencies, making sure there's an opportunity to digest and understand that information. From an engineering perspective, there continues to be support necessary to the department on their ongoing permit activities, clarifications that we can provide associated with the engineering aspects of the project, additional documentation that we're starting to work on. One key document that we've started to ramp up on is the preferred project engineers report. So this is taking what is now contained in a couple of different volumes that were prepared to support the environmental analysis of multiple alternatives, distilling that down to a preferred project that is a cohesive document that you can sort of follow from one end of the project to the other and not have to chase supplements and addenda and various other locations of information to try and understand the complete engineering inputs of the project. So that work is underway, and I do expect we'll have that report finished in probably third quarter of this calendar year, so sometime in the fall. From a fieldwork perspective, we are actually wrapping up today our spring investigation program. So that work was completed without incident, and they're in the process of finishing and grouting the last hole today. So the team is just about out of the field today. Claudia, if we could skip ahead, please, to section 3, the budget. So in terms of our financial performance this fiscal year, we're just about done. So we've got a pretty good estimate on where we're going to come in terms of incurred costs. We have an approved budget of 40.44 million for the fiscal year. We're currently looking at an estimate at completion of about 33.1. I do expect that number could continue to go down a little bit. Right now with 33.1, that provides an underrun of about 7.3 million. So really good financial performance and good efficient activity. There's nothing that I feel we should have done that we were not able to do with the expended and incurred costs. This mainly reflects a couple of elected items that we decided to defer, that it wasn't the right time to initiate. We didn't feel like we needed to get started on a few items. I'll highlight those in a minute when we get back to when we look at the schedule that's at the tail end of the monthly report. But overall, I think this is great financial performance. I'm happy that we're talking about an underrun and not an overrun. This is kind of the nature of our financial system, and that we tackle each year independently. We sort of set what I would view as a ceiling for the fiscal year, and that's what we're going to be talking about with the next agenda item for the budget for next fiscal year. And then I do expect, though, that this pattern will continue, that we set the ceiling for the year, then work our way through the year. Probably start to daylight underruns and other things as we work our way through. We usually start the year with a decent unallocated reserve as well. So that certainly contributes, unless something comes along and we decide to allocate those funds. We do tend to carry those through the fiscal year. So lastly, I'd like to just go to the schedule at the end, please, the program schedule. This just highlights where we are for the fiscal year. A couple items I mentioned are in engineering. You can see them highlighted with the yellow status icon on the far right side. So the two items to flag would be facility studies and project definition reports. In this case, the facility studies are going to catch up and be fine. In most cases, we've made good progress there, but a lot of the engineering team has been dedicated to the cost estimate update, cost estimate documentation. So some of these studies were deferred a little bit. They're coming, things are going to get done by the end of the fiscal year. So I expect we'll catch up on the facility study side. On the project definition reports, these are essentially the project specific design documentation reports that are intended to augment the preferred project engineers report. So that preferred project engineers report is at a relatively high level, covers the entire project, takes all the information that was feeding the EIR and CEQA analysis, puts it all in one place. These project definition reports then start to drill in a little bit deeper for each of the individual projects, starts to provide design criteria and other specific requirements. Those tend to really be focused on what will eventually be procurements, and we're just not quite there yet. We elected really not to start into major development of the project definition reports. We have started outlining them and working through the content of those documents, but have not felt it necessary to really dig in and start preparing those. It just would end up being more likely less efficient work if we start that too early, because things are going to continue to evolve. So we elected to defer starting those, and that's how they're flagged and noted in the program schedule. So that's the completion of my summary of the report. I would welcome any questions.
Okay, any questions from the board? No, more comments? Do we have any public comment on that?
President Palmer, we do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, moving on, that was just information only. We're getting on to the proposed final budget. And would you like to go ahead, please?
Thank you, President Palmer. The Finance Committee met several times to go over the 24-25 budget and received some clarifications, some additional information, additional detail. And on behalf of the Finance Committee, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the final budget for 24-25.
I second. Okay, so let's see, do we have any comments or questions? Let's start with questions. Questions from the board. Anybody? Questions online? No, and how about, do we have any public comment?
Palmer, we did receive one request online from someone named Na that I'd like to acknowledge. I do not see that person online. So I defer to you if,
so we don't have anything that they have questioned and written?
they did submit the request for this particular item. However, the name implies that it could potentially be just a random comment submitted by maybe not an actual person, but I defer to you on,
Well,
we can, I'm acknowledging the comment. I do not see that that person is online or registered under that name
Oh,
or
so-
that email.
So we don't, in other words, I mean, it's okay, people don't have to actually identify themselves in a public comment. If that person is not on in any way, then there's no way we can receive the public comment, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, President Palmer, and we would encourage that person, if they are on, to raise their hand, and if not, we can move forward.
Okay, person who has basically, who was anonymous in terms of their submittal of the public comment, are you online at this point? No, then we will move on. Okay,
For President Palmer, this is the only, or further clarification, this is the only comment that we've gotten or request that we received for this item.
okay, so we have no more comments from the board? Nope, all right, then we have a motion that has been put forward. Let's bring it to a roll call vote.
Gladly. President Palmer?
Aye.
Director Billabar?
Aye.
Director Luna?
Aye.
Director Estromera?
Aye.
Director Martin?
Aye.
Director Chang?
Aye.
Director Anaptawi?
Yes.
All right, budget has been approved.
Great. I just wanted to say that thank you, Director Martin, for your leadership in the Finance Committee, because we did go over it quite thoroughly. And that was, I think, very useful in terms of going through those details. Thank you. Okay, then.
Thank you, President Palmer.
Okay, then let's go ahead and we're now looking at item C, resolution approving the investment policy. And who's doing that one?
President Palmer, we do have Sam Smalls, who is on the Treasury team at Metropolitan that will be presenting this item, and I do see that he is online.
Excellent. So take it away, Mr. Smalls.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure if Catano is on. I think she was going to introduce the item, but in the interest of time, not seeing her, I will jump right in. Good afternoon to the board. My name is Sam Smalls. I'm the Treasury and Debt Manager in the Office of the CFO for Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And as many of you know, there is an agreement between DCA and Metropolitan to provide treasury and accounting services. And in compliance with that agreement, we are providing you an investment policy that is required to be adopted by your board annually. This policy is in compliance with state law and also with best practices. In the agreement, and actually next slide, please. So as I said, this is in compliance with state law that requires that the board pass or adopt a policy for its investments annually. And in this request, we are requesting that you delegate to the treasurer, which is Catano, and I see her now on screen. Hi, Catano.
Hi,
We were
everybody.
just getting started. I didn't know if you wanted to make any other introductory comments.
No, I think you should go on. I apologize. I got stuck in traffic, everybody, but this is just an annual, and if you can go just through the next two slides and then.
We can discuss. Okay,
Sure.
sounds
Thank
great. Thank you. And next slide, please. Can you move to the next? There we go. Okay. All right. So the great thing about this year is that there really aren't a lot of changes. We have a great policy, and it mirrors Metropolitan's policies in a lot of respects, except for just certain requirements because of DCA's formation. And you know what is changing in this year is an alignment with state code that was adopted. And really the state code that was adopted is just clarifying what applies in terms of certain restrictions on asset-backed security investments. And for those who are familiar with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those are federal GSEs, and adoption basically excludes some of those more restrictive constraints for collateralized mortgage obligations or asset-backed securities that don't have that particular designation. Next slide.
And
So
Sam, I can
we're
summarize this if you want me to.
okay. Sounds great.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to mention that we do not have a lot of money to invest right now. We really have very, very small amount. So the money come in, money goes to pay debt. We are left with usually less between 600, 800K. So everything in this policy is for really the future. All the money is in money market, it's in a bank account. To the extent that we ever do get bond funds, this will be really relevant. That's when you pay attention to what we're doing, because then we will be investing in these things. Right now, we're not. So but it's good to have a policy. It's good to have a guideline. So that's what we did. And so we're just asking you to bless this for this year, and also delegate authority to the treasurer to invest the DCA funds. Again, we're only really investing it in the bank account, but for future, we could be investing in a lot of these items that we have it in the policy. So thank you. And I want to thank Sam and his team for really working hard to align all our policies. We do actually 3 policies at DCFA, DCA, and M Metropolitan, and they're all different a little bit. But his team and Sam do a great job in making sure that we're following our policies. And I thank you and I appreciate you for stepping in. And I see Director Chang, you have a question, I think.
Yes, and thank you, Catano, and thank you, Sam, for the presentation. I probably asked this, the same question last year, so forgive me if I am repetitive. So Catano, I think you mentioned that a lot of the policies here that you're putting in recommendation is patterned after Metropolitan's investment policy as well. Is that did I get that correct?
Yeah, because we technically, they all look the same. It's actually government code. If you go
Right.
back to government code, we're all the same. But some of the government code, because we are utility and each one of us is literally designed a little bit differently. So they're not exact same. It would be wonderful for us to say, here's a policy for everybody, but it's not. There's a slight different rules, but very, very, very minor changes. Usually they all look the same. Because all government, I could pull up a city, any city, we all follow the same government code we're all fixed income. The California code really dictates how we invest. There are ways to go outside the government code, but it's a policy of the board that we could, like a JPA can actually do that. But it would take the board actively authorizing specific in the resolution. So the government code is a little bit broad to some extent, but it requires the board now to get involved in directing what else we invest in. But if you just want to be vanilla, follow the government code, we all look the same, but based on our makeup, we're slightly different.
Okay, great. I think, in this case, boring is good. So thank you.
Okay.
So basically, this is like a good basis from which to go. And when we get to the point where we have investment funds, then it could be modified if need be, as long as it's within government code.
No, the policy is addressing if you have money. All I'm
Right.
saying is we don't have the money. Most of the money is in a bank account. So most of the things we're telling you, we're changing, we're adapting is for preparation when we actually
Yes.
have money, but the
Yes,
policy will stay the same.
Yes, Katana, that is what I said in terms of.
Okay, thanks.
It's for the future and if in the future we get to that point, then if there is modification needed, we can do so. Is that correct?
Yes, to the extent that there's something we want to do that's really different, as long as it's allowed in the government code to do it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
You have,
Yeah.
Director Anaptawi.
Palmer, Director Anaptawi has a question.
oh, good, it didn't come up here. Go ahead, Director Naftawi.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks, Sam and Catano, for that walkthrough. I assume we're going to see an adoption of an investment policy, a statement of investment policy each year. And it, may change, may not, depending on the changes to the code. But is it correct to assume that once we do get into the future, when we do manage or sit on a lot of cash with the issuance of bonds and so on, and that investments are something more exciting to talk about, that we'll get updates on performance of those investments? I mean, we've just been in a very interesting market, of course, for fixed income and interest rates, and so we've been talking about it locally at our own boards. It's been quite a lot of interest in that. So yeah, just asking if we're going to see that once we get to a place where we do have large investments.
Yes, so you will see us having not just a policy, but an investment activity, which if you look at Met now, you'll see us quarterly reporting on the investment activity. I do that. I will be doing it a little bit, but it's just a memo because again, we don't have a lot of money, but to the extent that I have a portfolio, you will be seeing that portfolio.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair, if you're looking for a motion, I'd like to move that we adopt a resolution approving the investment policy recommended.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
And the delegation too, the 2 bullets.
I'm sorry, what was that, Katana?
Yes,
Approve the
Katana,
statement policy and delegate authority.
And delegation of authority.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so approval of the policy, and can we do that together or do we have to do those separately?
One motion. Thank you.
One motion. Okay, so the motion is to approve the statement of investment policy and then also to delegate the authority to the treasurer. Okay, so do we have any discussion on this? Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank Mr. Smalls and Catano for the explanations. I think the change before us is appropriate and I will support this, yes.
Yeah, I like that we're looking forward on this. Any other, go ahead. Can we have a second? We had first and a second. Do you have any public comment on this?
President Palmer, we do not.
Okay, then let us bring this to a vote.
Gladly. President Palmer,
Aye.
Director Millibar,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Aye.
Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Stamera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
Director Anaptawi.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Investment policy adopted.
Great, thank you so much. Now we're moving on to item D, which is the DCA Board of Directors Officers Update.
Thanks, President Palmer. I'll be providing the staff report for the item. So under the DCA Joint Powers Agreement and bylaws, we have 2-year officer terms. And the current officer terms will expire at the end of this fiscal year, so the end of this month. The new slate of officers is elected at the board's first board meeting of the new fiscal year, which will be July or August, pending your decision on the meeting cadence a little bit later. And existing officers serve until their successor is elected to cover that little bit of an overlap. However, and again, a little bit of a preview to a future item, President Palmer is transitioning to an alternate director effective July 1st. That will actually create a vacancy in the office of the presidency until that new slate of officers is elected at the board's first board meeting next fiscal year. So for that reason, under the bylaws in JPA, Vice President Millibar will be serving as the acting president during that interim period. While we don't anticipate a huge amount of activity during that period, the president does sometimes provide administrative approvals. For example, some things related to the executive director's contract or other items that are identified in the policies. So this isn't an action item for you. It's more of just an informational item to make sure the board was aware of that and also to thank President Millibar for stepping in.
Good deal. Okay. And then, all right. So that's we're now going to address what our meeting cadence should be.
Yep, thank you, President Palmer. So we have this discussion also annually at this time to talk about the meeting cadence for the next fiscal year. Staff has pulled together the calendar as shown in the attached. It's this is of course subject to board's opinion, discretion, desires. based on how the past year has gone, I think our system continues to work well. We've been scheduling meetings every other month for the first half of the year. Then, typically we expect to start to stack up a little tighter when we get into the budget preparation process. So April, May, June, we've gone monthly over the past few years. This year, we actually met in January, and then February, we kind of had some other items that we wanted that were more urgent that needed to be addressed. So I think the intent has been met. We've kind of kept the calendar and where we needed to. We've taken advantage of the off months to schedule additional meetings. But again, this is certainly subject to consideration by the board. But so far, it seems like the amount of business that we have to do is consistent with this type of cadence. And so it's my recommendation that we continue on as we have for the next year.
Okay, now, do we have any discussion by the board? Or questions? Yes, go ahead.
President Palmer, I would just ask, is there any advantage or disadvantage either way to adopting the monthly and cancel when necessary, or the bi-monthly and have a special when necessary? We've had experience with both, I think, probably. So.
I'm not sure if I have an advantage or disadvantage. I suppose that I think defaulting to the every other month cycle, at least for the first half of the year, seems to fit well. It probably avoids unnecessary kind of ramp up and then decision making about whether to cancel an unnecessary meeting. So I think we've been able to adapt pretty nimbly where we have urgent items that need to be addressed. I think the occurrence of, I think that type of occurrence is less frequent than the, oh, do we need to have this meeting kind of, little fire drill where we cancel it off of everybody's calendar. So I guess just based on the amount of busy work that it creates, I would probably lean towards scheduling them for every other month and then inserting additional meetings where we need to.
Well, our staff seems to be nimble enough to be able to pick up if there is an emergency or something comes up. I mean, I don't think you guys have had any problem with that.
Sorry, President Palmer, I had one more quick question
Oh,
for
sorry, go
Josh.
right ahead.
The option that we have been operating under where we can attend virtually or in person, is that still going to be in effect indefinitely? Are we operating under an executive order or any sort of thing like that?
It's a really good question, Director Martin. The good news is this is something that would continue indefinitely because we're actually operating under the traditional teleconference rules under the Brown Act, and those are indefinite.
So basically, as long as it gets to be, it gets notified in a proper fashion and then gets posted on the place of notification, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we list all of the locations, including the teleconference locations on the agenda, and we post at those locations. And with that, we can move forward with that indefinitely.
And then the places where they are being held, like if they're at Valley or Zone 7, then what is the notification time that has to be posted at that site?
Yeah, the same time period is posted here. So we, Ms. Rodriguez and her staff coordinates with all of the member agencies, and we really appreciate their staff's efforts to make sure that the agenda is posted. That's 72 hours in advance for a regular meeting and 24 hours in advance for a special meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's a good clarification. So, okay, then we have, I think, Director Chang, you are next.
Thank you, Director Palmer. I think the bi-monthly the cadence has worked really well over the last year. So I'm not advocating for a change. I wonder if we can, and I apologize for kind of bringing this up, during this meeting, but I wonder if there might be a consideration for a slight modification of, the bi-monthly schedule, kind of starting maybe like in July and then going to September, et cetera. I think one of the reasons why I say this is because, heading into December, it gets a little tight around the holiday schedules, et cetera. And I thought Graham mentioned that we had a meeting in January of this year. So again, I know we do have the flexibility of scheduling additional meetings as necessary, but, August, tends to be kind of like a vacation month, if you will. And then so I was thinking, July, September, and then, maybe like November. So anyways, it's just asking the question.
Okay, there is a suggestion. And Director Anakdawi.
I just wanted to give my 2 cents. I think it's been working really well. I know these take time for staff, for you, Executive Director Graham. So, when it makes sense to start to increase the frequency of these meetings, probably when we start to get into, major procurement and construction activities. I know you've mentioned that you would brief the board of when you think it's appropriate to increase the frequency, but it's been working great so far. So I would just give a thumbs up to the meeting cadence we've had.
Anybody else? I have a comment or just a question here, actually. In terms of, I'm taking into consideration Director Cheng's idea of going July, September, November. What is the staff's opinion about that? Because you are the folks that get to be most impacted, I think, in terms of your efforts. In terms of, do you wish to, I would like to get the staff's opinion as to whether they thought a July, September, November, or August, October, and then sometime earlier in December. What works for staff?
I defer to the board. I know this July, personally, I'll have a conflict, but that's all right. I'm sure we can adjust. That happens. But in terms of whether July, September, November, January is better than August, October, December, February, that really is, I think it's board's preference from my perspective. Claudia, do you have any thoughts on that?
I know that July is also a big staff holiday month, so
Yeah, but I would suggest just start with August and then see what happens from there. That would be my recommendation and Director Milbar's recommendation.
as we've done in the past, we've made it work with directors that are not available to be here in person, to participate remotely from wherever they are around the globe. So, if
Sit down in Antarctica.
yeah, so if we're, if the directors are, willing to do that, we're also willing to work with them to make sure that, they can participate wherever they are. So
Okay.
whatever it
Okay.
takes.
Director Anapdawi has his hand up.
Thank you, President Palmer. Just real briefly, I wanted to point of clarification. So with the Brown Act standard teleconferencing rules, would we need a quorum of the board present physically within the DCA boardroom for that to happen? I just want a point of clarity.
Yeah, Director Anatawi, we do not need a quorum of the DCA board in the conference room here to take advantage of the traditional teleconference rules. That's only required if we have a director calling in from a private meeting location under AB 2449, which we've only done a couple of times.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Okay, anything else?
One other comment. I think we have a practice of Graham Bradner talking to the board on the off months. And we will continue that, I assume.
Yeah, individual conversations will continue for sure. Absolutely.
So what is the preference of the board? I mean, we're going through now with a recommendation as to when the next board meeting should be in terms of the cadence. So, as recommended by staff, as you've set it up. I mean, that's what I would feel too.
Staff recommendation.
Okay, how about you guys online? Tony? Adnan? Director
Yeah,
Chang?
I'm fine either way.
Either
We used
Yeah.
to take July off, but we decided not to do that anymore, so doesn't matter.
Okay, well, it looks like we're going with staff recommendation
Great.
at this point, so then let us move on. Thank you. Okay, we're on what? Me. I'm leaving you guys, special item. I will still be here as an active alternate. So you haven't seen the last of me yet. And I will still be on the finance committee, so there you go.
So President Palmer, if it's okay, I wanted to read a little bit of this, if that's all right.
Okay, I prefer not to do it myself, thank you.
Yeah, you don't have to read it. So President Sarah Palmer has served on the DCA's Board of Directors since its formation in 2018 as a representative of the State Water Contractors and Zone 7 Water Agency, Alameda County Water District. Due to a planned rotation in the Zone 7 Alameda County Board seat, President Palmer will be an alternate director beginning July 1st. This item is an opportunity to recognize and thank President Palmer for her service on the Board of Directors. President Palmer's efforts have been essential to the formation and development of the DCA. Most recently, Director Palmer served as the DCA Board President for the prior 2 years. Under her leadership, the DCA completed conceptual engineering work in support of the Department of Water Resources consideration and recent approval of the Delta Conveyance Project through CEQA. President Palmer's role as chair of the Stakeholder Engagement Committee was essential to the formulation of conceptual alternatives that minimize effects to the Delta while accomplishing the goals established for the project by the Department of Water Resources. In addition, the DCA has continued to mature and develop as an organization, including updating the budget development process with the recently formed Finance Committee. These efforts would not have been possible without President Palmer's guidance. Staff thanks President Palmer for her efforts, looks forward to continued working with her as an alternate director and member of the DCA Finance Committee.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be odd not being on this side of the dais here, but yeah, I'll still be there. Thank you, folks. I have to say, I have thoroughly enjoyed, even with all the controversies, working with everyone here, the DWR folks and our communications folks and our legal folks, and the staff has been incredible, and the board members are I look at you as true colleagues. So yes, it has been a true honor to serve with you.
I would like to make a comment. We're gonna definitely miss Sarah's positive, informative, and all the things she does as she runs the meetings, because it's a bright spot, and her personality is perfect. So I appreciate everything that you've done.
Let me chime in also and say, thank you for welcoming me when I came into this board and the time you took to bring me up to speed. But again, on the personal level, really the passion that you bring to this service. You have so much background in science, but the way you communicate the subject matter really makes it relatable to all. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure the community appreciates it. Thank you so much for what you bring to this.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, there we go. Oh, Robert, go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, President Palmer. Yeah, I think I echo everything that Director Luna and Director Millibar said. But I think in addition, I think one of the true joys of working on this very important project is working with equally passionate people, on the board, to advance this, very, very important project. And I think, you certainly, fit that niche. I think I've learned a lot from you, your leadership style. And anyways, just, hoping to, still see you around. So thank you.
Okay, Director Anatawi. And then I'll go to Director Weed and Director Estramero.
Thanks, President Palmer. I think we'll you're a permanent fixture in California Water, and so and I'm sure we'll hear from you. It's not the end of your participation in this process. So I've just been really just pleased to get to know you on this board, and I think you do, as mentioned, bring a certain levity to this. And lower the temperature. So I appreciate that style. That's something I can definitely learn from. And I've appreciated serving on this board with you.
Thank you. Alternate Director Weed, soon to be Director Weed.
All right, thank you, sir. I've been incredibly impressed with your professionalism and ability to conduct the meetings and keep the organization in strong, positive guidance. So look forward to your continued active participation as an alternate in the next 2 years, and congratulate you for your service today. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Estramero, we started out on this.
Yes. Yes, I wanted to express my appreciation to Sarah for your great work as one of the originals left on the board. I'm happy to see that you're gonna continue as an alternate, but I also especially wanted to thank you for leading us in having the community involved in the project from the beginning. That was very important. It led us to a lot of, I believe, great improvements in our design and our plan. And so my hat's off to you. We owe you a tremendous a debt of gratitude. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to also thank Graham and, sorry, Carrie. Go, Carrie. Smack me on the side of the head. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Palmer. Let me add my words of thanks for your service to the DCA. That Stakeholder Engagement Committee chairmanship, that was a heavy lift.
Mhm.
And you did it with grace, professionalism, and good cheer. And it was a big value to getting us to where we are now. We will miss you and we wish you the best. And I know we'll see you soon again. I know I'll see you at the various conferences going forward, but thank you for your service. I couldn't agree more with the resolution, the way it's written.
Okay, great. I just want to mention too, with the Stakeholders Engagement Committee, that it was a privilege to work with those folks there. And Val, your guidance was amazing, and Carrie, yours as well. So, and all the folks who are on that Stakeholders Engagement Committee, I know you didn't like the project. I know you didn't like what was, how it was developing, but you were still extraordinary people to work with. So yeah, thank you. And I see we have a public comment as well. So we have OSHA Reserve, I believe we can recognize at this point.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Well, I want to thank Director Palmer. You always have a fabulous attitude and very cheerful, and you do a great job running meetings. So I want to give you kudos for that. I wasn't really intending to speak, but on behalf of myself, and I work with a lot of different community groups, and including local agencies at the North Delta, and I did participate in the steering committee, although I did not participate as a member. But I just need to correct the record. Maybe it was not intended, but Director Esther Mera just said, it was so great to have the community there since the beginning, and that's just not correct. So, I think it's important, especially maybe for newer members of this board, the JPA, to understand that, the laydown of the project was for almost, the entire laydown was already determined in advance of the Stakeholder Engagement Committee process beginning. And that's not to, denigrate some of the improvements that were made with respect to the approach to construction that would maybe lessen some of the impacts on the community and some of the innovative things that have happened in the days since the SEC was formed and today's date. But it's just not correct to say that the community was there from the beginning. The community was never asked whether they wanted this project. The project has never been designed to address any particular community need. It does not provide any water security or anything beneficial to the counties and the communities and the people or the environment of the Delta. So it's just important to me that, people understand that if your JPA is determined to try to jam this project through past the objections of all the local counties and even counties out of the area to the north, and all the environmental groups, local, statewide, even, nationwide, or some of the groups are, larger than that. There's a lot of reasons why this isn't the right project for California. And one of them might be that your districts probably can't afford it anyway. So I hope that we can shift eventually to something that will work for you all and keep your water secure and keep our communities intact. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments, Ms. Reserve. I would say that our project was modified significantly as a result of some of our input from the folks in the Delta. So let us then continue. And now, do we have a motion here? This is something to adopt. Did we do that?
Motion on the Sarah Palmer on them?
Yes,
Are you kidding?
then we can move on.
I'd be very honored and pleased to make the motion to approve the adoption of the resolution commending and thanking Sarah Palmer for her service to the board, on the board.
I second that.
Okay, first and second. Okay, let's bring it to a vote.
Gladly. President Palmer,
Sure.
Director Millibar, Director Martin,
Aye.
Director Luna,
Oh, yes, yes.
Director Estamera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
and Director Anathawi.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to reports and announcements then.
Thanks, President Palmer. My report as always is in the packet, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you, for your leadership and guidance over the years. Personally, I've had a tremendous amount of fun working for and with you as a director, and just looking forward to continuing to do so as an alternate and on the finance committee. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so we have your report. Any comments on that, folks? Nothing? Okay, now can I ask for, in terms of this, can I ask for public comment for all of those at the end? Yes, yeah, let's do that. Can I do that, Josh? Can we go through all the reports and announcements and then ask for public comment?
We technically should ask for public comment on each report,
Okay,
if that's
let's
okay.
do that. Do I have any public comment on the general counsel's report?
Palmer, we do not.
Okay, then this is basically information only. Any more comment from the board? None? All right, then let's move on to 8B, which is the treasurer's monthly report.
Thank you, Director Palmer, and I too want to join in thanking you. I'm always looking forward to your upbeat spirit, and even when I feel tired and I'm walking and I hear your voice, it's really refreshing. So I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you and wish you the best, and hoping we'll see you again. So today I'm just giving you a monthly report on April and May 2024 report. And as of April 1, we had a little bit over $2,203,109 million that we had on hand. We did pay some bills and received money from the DCO. And at the end of May 31, 2024, we have $2,052,064, a little over $2 million on hand. And that's usually because we're still holding on to receipts that we didn't receive. Typically, as you know, we keep about $800K in our account to pay some of the bills that we can't really move and wait for them to give us money, which is our security leases, our permits, and just really small items that we have to prepay. So that money really floats between that number and any bills that are pending to pay. Also in the report, you will see that you have all the schedules for the 2 months ended May 2024 and the invoices that we paid through that time and the aging reports that we have for accounts payable and all the receivables. So if you have any questions, concern, let me know. And I appreciate this moment. Thank you.
Okay. I have a quick question. And it may be that I'm misunderstanding something. So as I'm looking at the numbers from the treasurer's report, there are a bunch of commas, and that would make our cash assets at 2 billion. Isn't it 2 million? So there are commas, I think, where there should be a decimal point in there. Shouldn't there? I mean, am I messing up on here, or? Because I don't think we have 2 billion in cash assets. No, those are commas.
It looks like comma 6,777,100. Which number are you looking at?
Well, I'm just looking at
It looks.
Well, it's on your summary.
Yes.
It says cash disbursements. I think that because I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this.
In millions.
There's a comma, there's 2 commas, so it reads as like disbursements totaled 6,771,373 is what it reads as. And then I'm looking at resulting in an ending cash balance of, it basically says 2,052 million or 52,000. Yeah, 52. Yeah, that's 2 million. Okay,
2 million.
2 million. Oh, got it, got it, got it,
Million.
got it. I'm,
Millions.
my brain is shifted, so forgive me.
It's
I'm
okay.
just making sure that my brain, if my brain is shifted, that the
So,
intent.
so we ended up with $2,052,064.
Got it. No, I'm
Yeah.
good now. Sorry, it was
Okay.
you know, whatever. I think the caffeine has not caught up with me yet.
No, it's all right.
I need glasses. Okay, sorry about that, Katana.
It's
Okay.
okay. So that's all I have. If there are any other questions, otherwise that's the report. I thank you. And again, we're 2 months delayed because we now only report every couple months.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Do we have any board comments or questions? None? Okay, do we have any public comment?
President Palmer, we do not.
Okay, then let us continue and disregard my misreading. Okay. Okay, that's great. Now, Kitano, as usual, your reports are extremely clear, so thank you so much. Next,
Thank
moving
you.
on to the next item. Which is, where's my thing? Thank you. Okay, communications report. Thanks.
Good afternoon, President Palmer and board. Just very briefly, we continue to conduct a very robust digital outreach program, moving specifically targeting this month, the cost estimate and the benefit cost analysis. There's, again, continues to be significant click-throughs and interaction with the folks who are seeing these posts. So that's fantastic that in fact people are interacting with it, watching the videos, looking at the fact sheets. That's all good stuff. We continue, as you heard earlier from the director or from the executive director, there have been briefings at a variety of the member agencies, and those will continue. And this is with the boards, the member agency boards. We are continuing to coordinate with our member agencies on local benefits and pushing out information again through digital outreach. DWR continues to table at a variety of community events throughout the Delta. The tours are continuing. So that's exciting that we continue to have takers who want to have a better understanding of what's happening in with our project and what that alignment looks like. Our explainer fact sheets and videos are again receiving a lot of attention by folks in the Delta as well. We are pushing out information that explains the project, that explains the technical aspects, and again, there's a lot of interaction with those posts. That's about it for my report, but I do want, oh, I'm sorry, one other item. We have a library project and it's a DWR, DCA, DCP kind of collaborated program wherein because the internet is not so great in the Delta. What we try to do is provide a lot of our documentation at the various libraries. And so we are updating all of that information. I think it's been about a year or two since we've done that. We have obviously a number of new documents and a final and so all of that information will be in our Delta libraries within the next month and a half. In addition to that, in addition to like binders, there will also be thumb drives so that people can check them out. So that's the report, but on a personal note, I also wanted to thank President Palmer, you know, her leadership and her friendship and her patience with me when we were working on the SEC is fantastic. So thank you so much. It was a wonderful camaraderie. And I think without question, the project is better for it. So thank you for that.
Okay, do we have any comments from the board? No, nothing online. Do we have any public comments?
President Palmer, we do not.
Okay, then let us, thank you so much. And So I continual communicate with you. Okay, okay. Are we down to in the DWR Environmental Managers Report? Take it away. Ms. Luckman.
Thank you, President Palmer. I want to start off also thanking you for your service. It's been really wonderful getting to work with you. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your continual commitment to communicate in open and transparent ways that are clear to the public and pushing me to always be more clear in how I talk about things and perhaps a little more entertaining, which I understand. On the environmental side, I only have a couple of quick updates. Mostly things are just continuing to move forward. But I did want to mention on our water rates process, we're working on a few things. We did receive a letter from the state board that set our pre-hearing conference for August 13th. So that is a date that we will be working towards. And then also we are working to respond to how we are looking to resolve protests. The state board has asked us for information and we will be submitting that on July 12th.
Great.
Again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Always learning from you. Okay, do we have any comments from the board? Anything online, board? No? Do we have public comment?
Not.
Okay, then let's move forward and thank you so much. Okay, let's, we're on to verbal reports. Any verbal reports? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Palmer. I just want to make a quick report and thank Graham and Carrie for coming down to our agency. Thank Dr. Sunding for making himself available online to go through the cost benefit analysis. I know we had a lengthy discussion. You had a lot of questions and discussion with our board. I think it received a very favorable reaction from our board, and I appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule to come down to Santa Clarita and meet with us. What we didn't see was the evening bonus about 8:30 when the SpaceX launch went out of Vandenberg and we saw it right in the western horizon. So that was extra, but thank you very much for coming down. Appreciate it.
Great. Anyone else? Nothing? Anything online? Then I would like to say, since we did have a meeting, a luncheon meeting with our new interns over there. We have 4 new interns and we're so happy that you have come to join us. You've got a lot to have on your plate in the next 8 weeks. So the presence of these interns is very important to helping to develop our future water leaders type of thing. So sorry for using that term, Water Education Foundation, but yeah, you should see these guys. These are going to be amazing. And by guys, this is a non-generic, gender oriented term. Sorry about that. I've had people call me on that one, these folks. So thank you and welcome to the fold here and welcome to the maelstrom of information that you are going to be dealing with. So this is fabulous. Thank you. That's it. Anything else? Anything from the public?
From the public, President Palmer.
Okay. Do we have any future agenda items? None? Okay, then now we have time for, I'm going to read this so that you guys are real clear about the guidelines on this one. This is members of the public may address the authority on matters that are within the authority's jurisdiction, but not on the agenda at this time. Speakers are generally limited to 3 minutes each. However, the chair may further limit this time when reasonable based on the circumstances. Persons wishing to speak may do so remotely through the electronic meeting link by scanning the QR code or teleconference number when recognized by the chair. The DCA encourages public comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner within established time limits and focus on issues which directly affect the DCA or are within its jurisdiction. Again, these are items that are not on the agenda. So do we have any public comment?
Palmer, we do not.
Okay, then ladies and gentlemen, it's my last chance. It's my last chance. This meeting is adjourned.